Hey everyone. You know what I decided? I decided that I actually have no idea what I want to do with myself. And this is weird, because I always kind of had this big idea of what I wanted to do, and now it's just sort of, I don't know where it's gone. I just don't care anymore about that stuff. That stuff before was like political, like, being a politician or something like that. It was kind of weird, because every time I'd say that, I was in poli-sci, or I was like, in university taking poli-sci, every time, I'd be in a conversation and someone would ask me, what do you want to do? I'd say, okay, well, I'm interested in politics. And it was always so embarrassing. It almost seemed like there was this stigma attached to it, that like, oh, you want to be like that. And the weirdest part is every time I talked to someone about it, they were always very friendly, and they were always sort of like, okay, well, if you aspire to do that, that's cool, that's interesting, So it was kind of like, I don't know if it's just Canadians, or if it was just, I perceive this weird stigma attached to politicians, and I myself hold it, but everyone kind of still recognizes them as public figures, and that they, should strive to do good. So maybe that's what it was. And even then, I still hold that. I want to, I think one of the biggest things that I wanted to do if I ever got into a position of power was to listen to the voice that never got listened to, And I don't mean crazy conspiracy fanatics, but I mean the little guy. Or, everyone says the little guy. What I mean by that is, remember those who society forgot? The people that fell through the cracks, that don't really get much of a voice, that don't feel like speaking very much anymore, because they've been ignored for so long. And when I mean that, I mean, I'm not talking about one demographic, I'm talking about everyone who it seems that society just has stopped caring about. And I mean, in Canada, we have natives that are basically treated, I was talking to my friend who's from Brazil, fantastic person, she's great. And we were sitting down and we were talking, and she's like, okay, well, for start, I don't know how we got on the subject, but she's like, okay, in Canada, who are the poor? And it's such a weird question, like, who? Well, like, we always go, poor people are poor, So I had no idea, like, well, what do you mean? And she's like, the natives, Aboriginal people, those are the poor. And that really got me thinking, because it's like, yeah, they really are. Now, that's not to say if you're immediately Aboriginal that you're definitely not going to be in a wealthy family, but it's kind of like, if you're an Aboriginal, chances are you'll be raised in a family that has a history of damaged social skills, raised possibly on a reserve that is below third world, that's worse than a third world country almost. There's all sorts of terrible things, the odds of you being raised in a acceptable environment, I should say, are very low. And I know people who come from native families who are fine, good people, but there's a lot of negative history. And in fact, one of my friends, who I won't say her name, but she's kind of told me about, her family kind of has a history of this weird sexual behavior. I won't get into it, but just trust me when I say it's definitely not something you want to talk about at the dinner table or anything like that. And, I would not be surprised to find that kind of stuff emanated from what happened in residential schools. And in fact, I'm nearly certain about that stuff. And that's just an example. And it's kind of like, every time I look at politics, or every time I see what people are talking about, it's kind of bullshit, because in my mind, they're not tackling what's important. They're tackling these weird, insignificant little details, like battles of philosophy or ideology. Fist fights between people who don't care what the other person has to say. It's all so meaningless. That's not even politics to me, that's just so ridiculous. It's so utterly absurd and pointless that even in my position, how I look at life, it's just so worthless. It's such a waste of time. And it's so disgusting how people can act. And even if it's not corruption in the government, it's just the fact that it really is nothing they really have no interest in changing or trying new things. They really only care about keeping that job. And that's kind of like, if you had power, why would you not be creative with it? What the fuck is wrong with you? I don't know. It sounds weird when you say that, because obviously, no one wants to be creative, because then you always, well, what does that mean, right? Well, I don't even know what it means. I'm deliberately almost not really touching on some of the drama, because every time I say something, I see a video that has what I wanted to say way better. I always shift around, I'm trying not to. I'm really trying to stop shifting around. Everyone says it's fine, right? But I don't know. Something about body language just tells people, nervousness. And in reality, I'm not nervous. In fact, I don't know what I am. But definitely not afraid of what I have to say being posted on the internet. In fact, maybe I'm dumb because of that. I should really take more caution. But anyway, yeah, so I really don't know what I want to do. I mean, I like writing, but I'm not a very good writer. People tell me they like what I have to say, but I don't think I'm very good at it. I try and write poetry, but every time I write poetry, I always, it always comes off like I'm just thinking aloud and I'm not really saying anything. I like movies a lot, but that's always kind of like, well, I'm not really a film student, and I'm pretty sure that so many people are so much better at it that even trying would be a waste of time. There'd be no way that I could ever get close to it. And similar with game design and all that shit, it's just kind of like, I have no programming skill, and if I tried, I'd probably be a middling programmer at best. And when it comes to writing and all that, well, they probably don't need that good of a writer to make video games. As you can see these days with, Red Dead Redemption, like, perfect, near perfect gameplay, but the storyline is just, how the fuck did this pass the critics, Like, this is so god-awful. So I don't know, I have ideas, but I have no solutions, I suppose. And shift back and forth a little bit there, yeah. That's really all I had to say. It's been an interesting few weeks on YouTube. It's been pretty fun to listen to this kind of stuff. But I still maintain that it probably doesn't really matter what we do. Draw Muhammad Day, people say it's successful. Godless Hayes had a good point. It's not really successful. The people that really need these kind of tolerance, they banned it in their fucking countries and shit like that. This wasn't a victory for us. We could already say what we wanted to say. The government was going to come down and stop us from drawing Muhammad. So, what the fuck was that all about? What was the point of that shit? Oh well, at least some Muslims got to demonstrate that they were cool with it. That's always a plus. Yeah, take it easy.